force that love commence. Close my eyes, embrace my matter. My hips as if they bear the rings of Mama Saturn. Stretch my vertebrae so we can climb it like a ladder. And step into our world.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Terror for a World on Fire. My name is Blair. Yeah, thanks for being here. For folks who are new to this space, Terror for a World on Fire are tarot readings aligned with the changing seasons to explore personal and collective healing as a strategy to let the world that we once knew decompose and cultivate a new world that deserves us. My name is Blair, and I'm a member of the Rooted Collective. The Rooted Collective is a liberatory gathering of Black LGBTQ folks to define, dream, and expand on the ways that we heal from oppression and practice joy and pleasure. We root our work in the knowledge and that healing for all Black people is political resistance. So please check us out on Facebook, and we usually post different things we have coming up that folks can come and check out. I also do my own personal tarot practice and other practices on Alight Baltimore, also Alight Alchemy. I'm doing some name stuff, but it's a website, alightalchemy.com. You can sit for a spell, breathe through transition, and ignite your power and purpose. So I do tarot readings on that site. There's a plethora of healing practitioners in the Baltimore area that are Black, queer and trans affirming and loving. And it's really just a space that I'm hoping that folks find for people that they can connect to and really get what they need for their own personal healing and movement through the world through that website. These readings are also posted there. I've been doing these Terror for World on Fire readings for a little while now. And I find it helpful as folks are entering the space, getting ready to listen to what's coming for winter, to go back and listen to previous recordings. Did anything resonate from you from Autumn's recording? We talked a good bit about preparation and Autumn's recording. We talked about really connecting in with our ancestral practice, our lineages, our visions for where we're going. We talked about almost setting some intentions as if autumn was our new year. And so check back on some of those practices. Were you able to do any of that, commit to any of that? And if you were, great, do some reflection there. And if not, there's still time, you know, that time can be now, or can be that time that we, many of us do that work, which is right at the new year. So there are also other offerings on that website, coaching, consulting, all that kind of stuff. So check out Alight Baltimore or alightalchemy.com. Okay, great. So just first, a little bit of like personal storytelling. It took me a minute to do this. And I have just been struggling to be able to, for some reason in this particular moment, at this particular time and season, to be able to show up in this way, to get myself ready, to really dive into, yeah, just what is coming, what we're moving through, what, how we do that collectively. And I think part of that hesitation and some of that like difficulty and even getting to this point and finally doing this recording, which is not on solstice, it's a little bit after solstice, is that things are hard. That's a refrain that I've mentioned before. This time is a lot. And I am so deeply grateful to tarot for being one of the technologies that really brings me comfort, brings me knowing, by doing some card pulls, really seeing how stuff resonates with where I am, where you are, where we all are collectively, and using that as a guide and a map to be able to just help us navigate the next 3 months. And while tarot is a technology that I love and is just like, whew, has just done so much for me, um, it is one of many technologies, right? And typically when I start these recordings, I start with some ruminations on moving into the season. Right now it's the winter, what that means for us seasonally as people in the world, maybe reflect on things also happening. Um, for Black folks, for Black, queer, and trans folks, based on my community, my experiences, just things that are coming through. And that's been a really dope practice. And I'm called to not just focus on the season and not do narration about that transition, but to just say some shit. And so just say some shit based on stuff that's been coming up for me in my own spiritual practice, for myself, for my people, for beloveds that I'm in community with, for other folks I'm connecting to, and just like name some stuff that's happening right now, because it's a lot, y'all. It is a whole lot. So, and the laughter just helps me get my body right, you know? So yeah. So let's start this by taking some breaths. That feels good. Yeah, just taking some deep breaths, getting yourself kind of more present where you are. If you're listening to this while like cooking a meal, while driving your car, while lounging around on the couch, just taking a few breaths to just center and ground yourself where you are. So a couple things that are coming up. So there are 3 words and energies that have just been super present, showing up in texts, readings, the world, just all the different ways in which like I see and receive energy. 3 things keep coming up. And those words are they're words with a lot of weight to them. So I'm going to say them all at once, and then we're going to get into them a little bit, and then we're going to go into the tarot reading. So I was hoping this would be a shorter reading. It's not going to be. I know that already. So strap in, and just hope this was something here that serves you. So the 3 words that have kept coming up have been chaos, grief, and death. So take a breath with that, right? The 3 words that have come up have been chaos, grief, and death. And you have to promise to just not stop the recording now and then take that as what you took from it, because there's so much within each one of those words that I want to just like make some space for. Let us just sit with for a little bit and see how it resonates in our bodies and in our skin and our beings. So chaos. We oftentimes see chaos as an opposing force to order, right? And just to check in about the ways that order is present for us and has been present for us currently and historically, order has shown up through systems, systems that have actively harmed us over and over and over and over again. Us in particular, being folks of color, being women, being queer and trans folks, being differently abled folks, right? Over and over and over and over again. And when those systems around us, and even to backtrack from that, you know, it feels like an abusive relationship we've got with these systems, y'all, right? It is the order that we've been sold as a country, and it is one that's steeped in white supremacy. And as everything starts to crumble and the fissures and the cracks get clearer and bigger. And more of us are being like, this ain't it. This is absolutely not it. Um, it can be hard to both see yourself as part of those systems and actively see all the flaws in them and just watch them crumble all around you. And the collapse of those systems can feel like chaos. It is chaos. Um, but chaos is a teacher, and it can be an ally to us in thinking about new ways of being and thinking about um, how to survive and thrive through these times. I think about the ways in which um, Black folks, like my family, my ancestors, have been able to see chaos and move through it and adapt and be flexible and shift and just be open and to let go and to just create powerful ways of being and holding each other, keeping each other healthy, keeping each other sane despite the chaos, right? Um, it really forces this flow and fluidity, um, which is desperately needed uh, as things start to crumble. And it gives us the freedom to just try something different. You know, order can feel, I think it's a powerful agent. I think it, when done well, I think it is deeply necessary. It is deeply necessary. And chaos moving into that gives us the freedom, if we decide to fully let go and embrace, to really try stuff, develop new systems of care, develop new systems of justice, develop new ways of being in community with one another, and really starting hyper small and hyper local. And so when I say the word chaos, that's the invitation. The invitation is to be flexible, to adapt, to let go, and to try something else um, with a different foundation than the one that we're used to, which is white supremacy. So that's a bit about chaos. Um, grief. We've just lost so many people, you know, uh, and that's not going to end, you know. I think grief is something that is always going to be present. And when I think of particular Black revolutionaries that have passed, um, all within a short window with each other, right? I think of Bell Hooks. I think of Desmond Tutu. I think of Malinouma Some, who is this elder from Burkina Faso who uh, had been doing ton of teachings around the healing traditions of West Africa and the ways in which, oh, it's starting to rain. I'm going to stay through the rain and we're going to see how this goes. And we might pivot if it doesn't stop. Yeah, so uh, really, those teachings that come through this elder, Mayadoma Some, in his practice, straight cis man, right? Doing a lot of work to talk to Black folks about ancestor reverence, about connecting into the truths of who we are, about our people, and has been really clear in his own practice and spiritual development that queer and trans folks are the keys to our spiritual world. They are to be held um, with care and with love and with some reverence. And that tracks with so many other cultures, right? Where queer and trans people, gender expansive folks, um, are seen in this really beautiful way. And it is a robbery that we are actively experiencing in the context of the US, in the context of white supremacy, that has us disbelieve um, in the power of queer and trans people and actively try to silence them and uh, remove power, harm, kill, destroy, right? Uh, so for me, uh, having someone so deeply in tune with his own ancestors and his own spiritual practice say those words and invite a complete reframe of my existence in the world, critical. So his loss hit really hard. And and so we're grieving. Uh, and I think grief, as I mentioned before, is something that is just with us all the time. It accompanies us every single day. It can. Um, and it doesn't have to be a wall in front of you. It can actually be a transformative agent because grief is how we show love, right? It's how we honor the folks that aren't here anymore. Um, and yeah, there's something there we have to acknowledge and sit with, while also we're in a massive period of change. As a world and society with COVID, with like climate change, with like revolutions happening, um, worker revolutions right now in particular. And so that just brings up a lot of grief. Change brings up so much grief. So in this moment, in this time, how are you grieving? Who are you grieving with? I think it's important to just take a moment to identify the people in your life who are safe to grieve with. And it could be also a great time to really think about connecting into healing practitioners, finding a therapist, someone that can really be with you and witness you um, in this moment at this time. And shout out to uh, Therapy That Liberates community and Shauna Murray Brown for the dope ass therapists that she is bringing together that have a clear Black liberation framework. So definitely recommend checking out Shauna. Go to her site directly um, or on Alight Baltimore or alightalchemy.com. She's listed as a resource. So yeah, grief. Who are you grieving with? How are you grieving? And take care as you grieve. Last piece is death. And while I've talked about death already in the context of this, I really want to focus in on how it showed up for my tarot and my tarot practice. And so what's wild is that the death card has been showing up over and over and over and over again. It's shown up in my own readings for myself, for other people. Um, it's shown up with other tarot practitioners that I've been in community with. Just this death card has just been popping up. And death is about letting go. It is about transition. It is about moving from one state of being into another. And through that transition, through that movement from one state of being into another, um, there's openings that are created. There is possibility that comes through as we're in winter. Everything that is falling to the ground, starting to die right now. is just the soil, it's the energy for what's going to grow in the spring. It is transmutation. It's like alchemy through nature, you know? And we're in a season, winter is a season of dying, um, but also collectively, right? We're in this massive transition moment. And uh, as we transition, I think it's just really important to focus in on the part of the death card interpretation that is about what comes next. And I'm a deep believer that um, as things die, things come anew, things are born, things manifest, energy just comes up in a different sort of way. And thinking about even the energy of these powerful elders I talked about, Bell Hooks, Desmond Tutu, Malidoma Some, others who preach love, discernment, justice, forgiveness, truth and reconciliation, um, shared humanity, all of it. That energy is now morphing into and will become really new, powerful, concentrated um, love, discernment, forgiveness, justice, truth and reconciliation, shared humanity in this next year, right? That vision that they had, the imagination they were able to hold is going to be energy that it's going to like just push push us hard this coming year into really dreaming, into really activating, into being the revolution that we need to be for us to be in something else that is better than this shit. And so those are the things I want to say and share about words that have come to me in my own spiritual practice: chaos, grief, and death, and how sitting with those um, and really leaning into some of those practices I shared, um, it's just going to help us build something better. It's critical. So that was a long share, and part of me is like, do we want to do a tarot reading now? Because that felt like enough in some ways, and maybe it was, y'all. You know, maybe that was it. I think I will do a really quick tarot reading actually, just to kind of close things out, because this is called Tarot for a World on Fire, so tarot should be part of that practice. But first, thank you so much for existing, for being, for sitting with me, for maybe hopefully taking something from these words that I'm sharing, and allowing me to be present for folks. So as you're working through some of that stuff, please, please, please take good care, identify your people, find a good therapist, find a good therapist, y'all. And then support that practice, that therapy practice with healing practitioners. Yeah, we'll get through this together. Okay, so arrow stuff. Now the timestamps and everything again, so that way this all makes sense and folks can go to the parts of the reading that they feel good about. We want to come back to. Also, feel free to share how this resonates, how this feels for you, if there are parts that, yeah, you're sitting with through this reading, and If there are ways that you want to see me improve my practice, shift it in any way, shape, or form, let me know. I'm super open to stuff. All right. So the questions that we ask the cards are, what should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? What should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? What should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? All right, so I'm gonna pull 3 cards and we'll see what comes up and go from there. First card is the Hermit. Second card is the Eight of Cups. Third card is the Nine of Cups. Great. Okay, cool. This is actually really great and super lovely. So yeah, I'm gonna move through this one actually pretty quickly. One thing just to acknowledge in the course of our tarot readings is that so many of them previously, up until this point, have been doing this work together, Tarot for World on Fire, actually since the pandemic started. Started doing this in March of 2020 as a way for me to process and move through this time, and hoping that it will be helpful for the folks to be on this journey and ride with me too. First videos were not that great. They're on Instagram. You can't find them on the website because quality is just like not up to a Blair standard. And we've been doing this now for 2 years. And so there have been some cards that have frequently come up over that time. Largely wands. Wands have come up a lot. Wands being cards about creativity, around passion. They are cards of fire, inspiration. They've been really moving us and charging us to do some sort of creative project, to really manifest the idea that we wanted to see birthed in the world. And I think a lot of that actually is around this moment that we're in right now, around those words I named before, around chaos and grief and death, and like what is coming next, and the sort of imagination and inspiration and passion that we need access to be able to build that thing. So that energy has been hyper present through the course of our readings, and I'm just going to ask folks again to like come back to check in on where they are with that one's energy, where they are with that creative pursuit, with that idea, with that project, with that just thing they're trying to put out into the world, because it is still necessary. Do not forget it. And an important part of staying on that path and staying connected to your higher alignment is taking moments of stillness and taking moments of pause and of rest, and really being a hermit out in the woods, maybe, I don't know. Just finding those quick moments of pause. It could be just before you go to bed. It could be during a car ride by yourself. It is so critically important for us to get to know stillness and to use it as a tool to unlock our own intuition. And I think so much of how society is structured, so much of how we move through, is through logic, is through study in that particular way, which is deeply valuable. But we often do that study at the cost of not trusting our own intuition, um, and not um, being still. And so, hermit energy, as that shows up in this card, is really about reminding us to stop, to take a breath, to go inward, to do a little bit of excavation there, to really to find to find rest, to locate rest. Um, yeah, it's essential. Uh, so part of that call for you is to in this season is to be like winter, to hibernate, figure out how to hibernate. Um, of course, with the care and the community and the connection that we also need to move through winter. Um, but some of that internal work is just still present, and some of that stillness, to really tap into our inner knowing, inner truth, check in with ourselves. How are we really doing? How are we really feeling? Um, just tapping into that for a moment. And Eight of Cups and Nine of Cups. Um, yeah, it's big. It's big love energy. Cups are about emotions. They're about people, community, lovers, friends. And Cups energy has come up before also. Largely Ace of Cups energy has come up. So like initiatory, new love. This is kind of getting us to the end of that Cups journey. And so eights being cards of action, cards of movement, uh, like love that travels us. And Nine of Cups just really being like, oh, just like I just see myself like falling into pillows, just the kind of nourishment um, that comes with having your having your heart fed. And so as we move into this time, and I'm actually so thankful for these cards because it's a really beautiful, I think, like loving hold as the sun kind of pours through for a moment and we come to the end of this reading is part of how I make it through this time is by finding stillness and by witnessing and acknowledging love everywhere it is, from the most minuscule to the way that this scarf loves my shoulders right now and just is keeping me a little bit warm with the tiny chill outside, um, to the kind of radical love that exists in collectives and in communities and yeah, and just like having the space and safety to dream really, really big, um, and to, you know, just all of that stuff. Um, so yeah, y'all, love is gonna get us through, and it always has, it always will. And love's got to be a critical part of that thing that we're dreaming and building. How does love become that new foundation um, of practice instead of uh, harm and separation, disconnection? So stillness and love. Those are the things you got um, as caps on our session together. Okay, cool. Thanks, y'all. Y'all are beautiful. I'm like, as if I can see you right now. Yeah, y'all are just beautiful. Thank you so much for being present through another one of these journeys with me. Um, Reach out if you have any questions or need any extra love and or support. I am currently, as I mentioned before, in the woods, maybe I think like in my rest space, but really getting held and nourished and recharged. So um, thankful for Earth. and for my ability to reclaim the land that's been robbed from so many of us, and getting to know that land again. And whole other separate project coming around, what reconnection to land looks like for Black women trans people. So more to share there, coming soon, likely on my website. So thank you. Love you so much, and yeah, till next time, you got this. We'll close by playing some more music.
Close my eyes, embrace my matter. Swing my hips
Also,
as if they bear the ring.
This is Tenorel, Mama Saturn. Also, just so you know what track this is. It's one of my favorites right now.
Of Mama Saturn, stretch my vertebrae so we can climb it like a ladder, and step into our world. We do not exist, no. We do not exist in the air.